Hello, I'm Yoko, and welcome to year 26 of GalaxyClan. Thank you all for all my Patreon supporters who are on screen right now. Your support means so much, and sorry for the small delay, but February was a short month, and my room kind of flooded, so that took some time to deal with. There was a lot in blind polls that I had on Patreon this year, and for time, I can't really point them out in video, so I may make a post. For now, some Dark Forest stuff has been happening, so we need to go take a look into those woods and see a former Bug Clan cat that we haven't seen in a long time. Cedar Blaze scented Hollowstar and got excited, ready for a fight, with the cat that he hadn't seen in such a long time. He was having fun until he noticed the actual bloodlust and murderous intent in Hollowstar's actions, realizing that he was outmatched. He bit his paw, panicked, and only barely managed to escape. On another moon, he ran into Adderstripe, who gave him an unimpressed look. He warned her if she knew Hollowstar's down here, explaining that the cat was terrorizing the members of all the clans and saying that he's no fun to fight, as he's out to kill. Adderstripe looks at the young cat and asks who he is and if he normally finds fighting fun. Cedar Blaze introduces himself best he can, partially forgetting his past, and answers that he loves fighting and has always found joy in the power. Adderstripe makes a hesitant proposal to team up, saying that they could train together, and some other plans that she has. Another moon, Rainbow Star was walking in the Dark Forest, trying to figure out what a bunch of vague StarClan warnings were about, and feeling hesitant to eavesdrop on their clanmates' dreams. They spot Adderstripe with her daughter, the rogue Stoneshell, and want to interfere, but before they can, a hard blow blindsides them from behind. Cedar Blaze cackling in joy as Adderstripe smiles. Rainbow Star escapes with their dream powers, standing dazed in the dream of Cyndaquil, who exclaims in surprise at the blood, waking up and running for a medicine cat to help their mate. There's more things that you'll learn about that, but for now, the first death is sadly the predictable Spindle Fox, who died 2 moons into the year, only 16 moons old. Sadly, this was expected as soon as he got red cough last year. It's a very low chance to survive. Spinel was begging him not to leave, and that was so sad. I'm going to miss Spindle Fox. I really wish he got a better life, but there's nothing new to really say, and this year is really drama-filled, so we must move on. Another young death is sadly the newly named Finchting, who died at 17 moons old. He was sneaky, an excellent teacher, and a good kit sitter. He got boosted confidence, and his eyes lit up when Daffodil Heart treated him as an equal on patrol with the other cats. Sushi purred when he was named, knowing his cunning will lead him through anything. He took charge of a training session with Roostertail, practicing how to take down prey, and their confidence in each other was growing. He staked out a badger den alone, staying in the slopes above, and darted back to camp to report it as soon as the badger stuck its head out. Side note, we ran into a ton of badgers. He wanted to be chosen as a future deputy, and then bonded with his brothers watching mountain goats butt heads and taking bets on who would win. He did seem to be a bit distracted and down, potentially slowing down and getting sick as he pretended to be busy and wanted to slip back into his nest before eventually dying in a bad outbreak of green cough that took one other life as well. I'm sure Chestnut Wolf was getting flashbacks. He lived long enough to meet his new little siblings. And I'm so mad because Pete Main died at 86 moons old to green cough as well, which is so cruel when that's what took his mate and son. Going back in time, he went for a long walk deep in thought and then couldn't get anything done with the heat. Then he went out alone again and thought about potential StarClan vision he got, repetitive training bringing him to a meditative state, and he was confident in his next steps, where he was quiet while collecting herbs with Chestnut Wolf, before asking if she could teach him more about the nature of StarClan, where she taught him about prophecies and the nature of their ancestors as he had wonder in his eyes. And I thought that was really cute since he taught her some of the herb side of things and then she came over and taught him some of the prophecy stuff. Very cute dynamic. Then he was doing better, talking with friends about recent celebrations and training with Jackdaw Slash before sadly dying to green cough. I will say in the side hypo kit video, I designed the litter that they never had, so these kits are canonically in StarClan like the actual books, and he did finally get to meet his second litter. But with that, sadly the Guppy scavenger line has died out as well. Related to his vision, I don't know if he was warned about this and misinterpreted the sign, or if he knew that his time was up soon, but had made peace with himself in some way. I hope he's happy now with Cragscale and their family. Sadly, Pebblejoy died this year outside the clan during her kitty pet life, and so did her mate 4, who I'm not drawing here, but know that he's with her as well. I'm gonna say that she can go to GalaxyClan, StarClan, and kitty pet wherever StarClan. 4 died at 96 moons old, and Pebblejoy died at 98 moons old, about half a year after 4. Not sure how they both died since the game doesn't tell me, but Pebblejoy saw a strange orange-furred kitty pet crawling around the thickets, and that was definitely a Rusty reference. Then she saw a flaming ball in the sky, which Isn't that just the sun? But also that reminds me of the fire alone will save the clan prophecy from the book, so Pebblejoy was just reading Warriors, I guess. She also sighed a relief when she escaped some dogs shortly before her death, so it is possible that maybe some new dogs moved into the area that were dangerous, and they might have gotten her and or 4. Again, we don't know. Either way, I'm sad to lose her and 4, but at least they weren't separated too long. Horizon Petal sadly died at 44 moons old. She was having quite a bit of a harder year. Focusing mostly on Ibis Paw first, with a sigh keeping her temper when he was complaining about training, and she explained the reasoning that he had to train that way. Then she hurt her paws running on harsh ground, and she got help from Luckshine also teaching Ibis Paw, but he ended up getting a minor injury on accident. Then she was with Luckshine again when they ran into the J-Clan medicine cat and brought them to camp. And then she was hunting by herself when she was exhausted and stressed, which was both the cause and consequence of her seizure. And sadly, she died during another seizure very shortly after that. Luckshine did like her back and was even imagining what a family might look like with her, so that's sad. And I'm also sad because Gorsefroat died at 27 moons old. His mate Magpie Freckle never joined our clan, and he never joined J-Clan when I played them this year, so that's sad. He was chatting with a medicine cat and discussing a vision he had related to whispers of voices rapidly fading, a peal of laughter, and a cat's last breath. Which was a vision that happened right before what happened with Rainbow Star in the Dark Forest, and was probably warning of that. Then he was thinking about his life choices, and had a nice chat with a cat from another clan, most likely Magpie Freckle. He was feeling content with the little things in life, and then asked a newer cat in the clan if she could show him some moves, and was watching her with eyes that were a bit too admiring. He did like her too in-game, but he doesn't feel like the cheating type, so he might have just had a crush and probably wouldn't have acted on it unless he discussed it with Magpie Freckle. But Gorsefroat died defending Daffodil Heart from a badger, so he went out a hero at least. We were over the clan size at the end of the year, so I needed to manually kill some cats, sadly. So rogues invaded camp. Heads up, you'll see cats that you don't know about yet that are in the clan, and also some named rogues that exist outside the clan in Galaxy or the side clans. Well, any rogue that isn't mentioned by name in here is an OC cameo. Caribou Speck comes running into camp injured and yelling that the rogues are invading. The clan is outnumbered with many cats not in camp as the rogues invade. Cliff Creek sees his sister Stoneshell, who pauses, but before he can say anything, she gives a sad look as she runs towards the nursery with other rogues. She attacks Sneezetuft, who is guarding, injuring him as rogues run in. Pike lays with a deep throat wound, leaving him unable to defend while his kits get stolen to his horror. Max is carrying a kit out, but Wishkeeper stops her from getting far, taking the kit back. Max claws at Ficklemoth's face, distracting Wishkeeper as she escapes. Drizzlelight is protecting Minnow Spirit near the camp entrance, and his mate wails as a rogue kills him. The rogue leaves as Minnow Spirit nuzzles his lifeless body, and then notices the rogue heading for a clanmate with free kits. Minnow Spirit gets up to protect Basil, but is shocked when he sees her smiling at the rogue and trying to convince the kits to follow her. With emotion, Minnow Spirit yells traitor as he swipes at Basil. Milkhair, Sparrow Dance, and Swan Song hear him and run to help, getting the kits back. Meanwhile, Pumpkin Glow sees Max exiting the Elder's Den with blood on her muzzle, and as she tries to check out the den, the rogue Turbo attacks her. Pumpkin Glow manages to fight her off, but Dart knocks her down and gets a deep swipe on her belly, leaving her to bleed. Silk Spider is injured and outnumbered against the rogues, Borage and Laurel, with Laurel getting a killing blow. Daisy Billow manages to fight a rogue off and sees a patrol returning. A rogue attacking Luckshine before Clover can react. Jackdaw Slash sees her daughter bleeding and then hears a rogue laugh and mock her, saying that she should have joined them before they kill her. Robin Patch attacked the rogue, getting a lucky hit that made them run away. Caribou Speck peeks his head out of the medicine cat den and sees Basil running away with the rogues, with Laurel carrying a kit. A bleeding Luckshine fights Laurel, getting the kit back. Oleander spots ushering them into the den as Spinel attacks him, pinning him as Laurel goes for the kill. An injured Ficklemoth yells and attacks the traitor Spinel as he runs out of camp past the returning Rainbow Star and Cyndaquil, who stare at the scene with horror, rogues running out past them. Cyndaquil sees Stoneshell, recognizing who must be his daughter, but she swipes him before he can say anything, not even realizing who he is. Robin Patch is killed by the rogues Borage and Crocus Whisker as they drown him in a shallow camp river. Max stands on the Crystal Peak making her own leader announcement, shouting that this isn't over and she will find a home for her cats one way or another, ordering the rogues to retreat. Back in StarClan, we're starting with Silk Spider, so I can draw him next to his brother. He was killed at 28 moons old by the rogue named Laurel, which hurts. He was such a good cat. He got an apprentice this year and invited Oleander Spots and his kids to join when out with her. He got heat stroke and was out collecting flowers to give to his apprentice as a gift instead of resting, which Chestnut Wolf could not find him anywhere that moon. He also excitedly walked up to the J-Clan border, greeting some cats pleasantly, and cats noted that he seemed on good terms with the cats on patrol, which was probably his brother's mate, Magpie Freckle. Then he was thinking about life alone and finding peace within himself. He knew he wasn't flawless, but he believes in the path that he was taking. Then he wished that he could get to know Ragged better, so I wonder who brought him up. When Goresthroat died, he was bargaining with StarClan to send him back, and Silk Spider was also helping a shy clanmate get closer with one of his friends, so yeah, overall he was super sweet, and I'm going to miss him. So back to timeline accuracy, the first death when the rogues invaded camp was Drizzlelight, who was killed at 38 moons old, and Storm's death pains me. Earlier in the year, he thought that he had a StarClan vision, went out with Melkhair and Leopard Spots, and then Melkhair took her seniority of probably a few minutes, since these cats are literally littermates, to discuss Storm's vision. And then in a perfect moment, they pressed their head to Minnow Spirits and spoke their commitment of mates to the clan. Nothing in their eyes but love. Drizzlelight did indeed get the boy that he wanted, and cutely he was later thanking Minnow Spirit for what he does for the clan. They got together pretty early in the year, and there was a couple moons that they could have adopted kits. Probably for the best that they didn't since the clan was overpopulated, but it still saddens me. Drizzlelight was also hanging out with his best friend Sneezetuff, collecting herbs with his sister together, and then convincing Sneezetuff to eat prey on patrol with them. But they at least brought back a ton for the clan. Drizzlelight trotted over to Chestnut Wolf, grinning and pelt brushing against her as they collected herbs, having a good sibling bonding day. Storm was honestly just a good guy and seemed pretty happy with his life at the moment, which makes me sad. Next up is Daffodil Heart, who I forgot to mention last year rolled to have the disability that she gets heat stroke more easily, so oops. Cliff Creek mediated her and Spinel when he saw they weren't getting along that well, and she treated Finchpot exactly like everyone else, which he really appreciated. She wanted to hunt during Greenleaf, but she knew the risk of heat stroke was too high for her, so she stayed in camp. Then she noticed herself slowing down and eventually retired. In retirement, she remembered apparently breaking the code and getting away with it. What did you do? As mentioned, Goresthroat died protecting her from a badger, but sadly she did still die in the end when the rogue leader Max killed her. And the rogues got our deputy Jackdaw Slash too, being killed at 100 moons old. She had been seen arguing with a loner named Alaska, and then she was finding Cliff Creek annoying, which might just be his existence in general since she wasn't a Cyndaquil fan, and you know, Adderstripe for obvious reasons. Then she boldly stepped over the Viper Clan border, but was pulled back by a clanmate who stared her down. And I never really figured out what she was doing or who caught her, so let me know ideas below. She was helping the medicine cat find lungwort and pushed herself since she couldn't let GalaxyClan go without it. Then she was overwhelmed training alone, but she shook her head to clear it. She was wondering what Pike was up to and felt a sense of protectiveness towards the clan, having the status that she was ready to defend them at any moment. And on that same moon, the rogue Max had the status that she wanted to show Jackdaw Slash a whole new life as a rogue. I also noticed Jackdaw Slash no longer had a crush on Rainbow Star, and apparently Rainbow Star threw out a gift that she gave them, which was very rude of them. I think the rogues were trying to recruit her and convince her that Rainbow Star was an incompetent leader, so she should betray them. But she just stayed loyal. She did have a funny moment where she was a bush, or at least as far as the prey was concerned, she was a bush, and she felt at peace strolling for her beloved home. She was sad at her daughter's death, taking some of Horizon Petal's nest to add with her own. And yeah, she was a bit sneaky this year, but overall it seems her loyalty was always to the clan and she did her best. Though she should have warned about the rogues. And that's probably her biggest regret. But her and Rainbow Star have kind of been butting heads a little bit. The next death was a cat that joined early in the year. His name was Oleander Spots, and he was a 43-moon-old righteous impressive climber who joined with his 2 kits. And he joined as a medicine cat. We were kind of already overpopulated, but I usually proceed on apprentices' first patrols, and I was tempted at a possible new medicine cat. Then oops babies, just like Alcyone. He was inspired by Jackdaw Slash's determination and kept looking for lungwort during a tough search. And then he was startled awake by a vivid dream, so I checked StarClan and Alcyone was ready to send an omen. Well, Truffle Sprout knew what Basil's secret was. And well, you saw her in the animatic, so you know that she is a rogue that joined us and betrayed us later. Oleander Spots kept an eye on Basil by having her tidy up the burial grounds of him. And he actually hated her in-game, and she hated him too. He was giving herbs to an injured loner a lot, and I'm pretty sure that was Alaska, who was outside the clan, and looks just like him. Possibly his dad. Notably, Alaska has a scar in-game, and Oleander Spots joined with one too. On a time skip, he invited a rogue to join the clan, and then he dropped a bunch of death flags when he asked Chestnut Wolf if she ever pondered her own mortality, as it was something he was dwelling on. Then when she asked if he thought on taking on a new apprentice, he deflected essentially and asked if she had any preferences. And the biggest red flag might have been when he followed a stray cicada wing in its last moments of life that led him to a new herb patch, and he was wondering if this was a StarClan sign or a coincidence, before it fluttered lifeless to the ground. He ended up keeping it as an accessory, which, up to that point, I decided he didn't actually take on a medicine cat accessory just because he didn't feel like it. He also noticed Caribou Speck was overworking, but upset the kid when he brought up his concerns. And then he died also killed by the rogue Laurel, but with Spinell's help. And I think his ex-mate might have been killed by this group or was involved in another way, something like that, but I'll get into that with the next cat. Because his son, the childish 13-moon-old Robin Patch, was also killed by a rogue, drowned in a puddle. He was a great teacher and had natural intuition. He sadly got his full name the same moon that he died. He joined at 3 moons old with his sister, and he was born with a crooked jaw. He was apprenticed to Ren Noise, and once again, her apprentice's first patrol was seeing a swarm with 2 legs that she had to remind true warriors stay away from. Later, Robin Paw admitted that he had a conversation with a kitty pet, and he didn't know if being friends with a kitty pet was against the code. But when Ren Noise asked if he'd refused to fight them, he assured her that he would still fight them, which Ren Noise nodded in approval over. As long as he was willing to challenge them if they trespassed was all that mattered. He snuck out with his sister while they were still apprentices, and together they fought a fox away from its prey. He overslept missing Dawn Patrol, and then he told a medicine cat about his dream of drowning in a battle long ago, which, well, you saw what I did with the drowning part, but the battle long ago is what makes me think Oleander Spots and or his mate were involved with the rogues. He later tried to do too much at once and defeatedly asked Roostertail for help. He was behind on training compared to his sister, who was made a warrior way earlier, and he was also seen arguing with a J-Clan cat, interestingly. But he was eventually named, honoring his skill, and proceeded to make immature jokes all day, leaving cats rolling their eyes. He was so silly, and I'm so sad he died. But at least his sister is alive, so his family didn't all immediately die this year. There's also Alaska outside the clan, but that's the last deaths of the year, so let's get into the living cats. Starting with the 88-moon-old Rainbow Star and the 70-moon-old Cyndaquil, and Rainbow Star has not been the best. They tripped while training with Cyndaquil twice this year, where Cyndaquil just chuckled about how mouse-brained their mate was, and how he loved them for it, helping them up while laughing. And later in the year, it was shown Cyndaquil took Rainbow Star down with a fantastic pounce in training, impressing them. They gave some sparrow feathers to Sushi, and was talking about prey with Pumpkin Glow, disagreeing with her terrible taste in her favorite, but chatting and getting closer. They crashed through the bushes, ruining a clanmate's hunt, and then a million cats were getting StarClan visions, Wishkeeper specifically going right to Rainbow Star with it, possibly talking about Gorsford's vision. And the next moon, Rainbow Star died in-game when they failed to interpret a sign from StarClan, and the answer to how they died was Adderstripe and Cedar Blaze. So yeah, Rainbow Star thought that StarClan might be warning of the Dark Forest, so they tried to investigate and ended up losing a life. They told Cyndaquil after that they saw presumably Stoneshell talking with Adderstripe, and on that same moon that Rainbow Star lost a life to that, Cyndaquil had the status that they weren't ashamed of their past, and that rang alarm bells. His ex-wife just got his mate killed. Maybe have a bit of shame for your past? Cyndaquil was also wondering about his old 2-leg friends a lot, and I'm saying S'mores was definitely his older sister, and the two were thinking about having her be a surrogate. Too bad she died this year, I'll get into it later, but it was also revealed that she was involved with rogues. Rainbow Star then went on and on about how great of an alliance GalaxyClan and J-Clan had during a gathering, until Wasp Star coughed meaningfully during a speech and announced that J-Clan will be focusing on their own priorities, and GalaxyClan should do the same. So that was awkward. Rainbow Star's thoughts on a solo patrol were filled with bad thoughts, and decided that what they're doing clearly isn't working, and returned saddened but ready to do better. And then they lost another life to a badger, going down to 7. Rainbow Star also found a fat, slow rabbit and purred while they shared it with clanmates, relaxing with friends, enjoying the peace for the moment. More on Cyndaquil, he was hunting well and complimented ViperClan on battles. He briefly got White Cough, and he was presumably playfully pranking his son Cliff Creek. And this boy is a walking red flag surrounded by horrible people that he seemingly enables. But according to what rolled in the battle animatic, his daughter doesn't know him, which means Cyndaquil is not actually involved with the rogues or Adderstripe despite all the evidence. He's just a guy who stays with a lot of bad people, which is still a red flag. Rainbow Star was one of the many cats that were not in camp during the rogue attack, and they panicked when they arrived at the end of it. Cats have betrayed them, others are losing faith in their capabilities as leader, and Rainbow Star, despite not wanting to distrust their clanmates, has decided they probably do need to start researching their dreams, and we probably shouldn't invite cats next year. And horrible timing, but when I time skipped into the next year once, Rainbow Star and Cyndaquil adopt next moon, which means they have a surrogate expecting right now. Her name is Crusted, and I'm saying this is another Cyndaquil sister, since she kind of looks like S'mores, but a younger one this time, and she's also a kitty pet. But yeah, this is a mess. There was multiple opportunities for Cyndaquil to roll to betray Rainbow Star or the clan in some way, but they never did, and every year just has me shaking Cyndaquil and asking, why do you do the things you do? Rainbow Star, please get your priorities straight. The clan is a mess. Everything is horrible. But they did also just lose their deputy, so let's see who they chose as their new one. Surprisingly, it's the 42-moon-old Fawnfoot, which was completely unexpected to me. Swansong is older and going through things, so I see why Rainbow Star didn't pick their friend. Though things also are tense with Swansong right now. Maybe they thought their daughter was a good choice instead. But also I was rooting for Wishkeeper. Anyway, Fawnfoot was sick a lot. She survived yellow cough and then got a stomach ache. And towards the end of the year, she fell into a river, inhaling water and getting it in her lungs. But she's good now. She also ate prey on a patrol and felt suspicious glares of red noise and basil after. So great deputy choice. Okay, but as far as good stuff, she was guarding camp and ended up ambushed by rogues while alone, snarling and throwing herself at them with a ferocity that took them aback. But their shock only lasted a moment, with her needing to make her escape before she was killed. She also wasn't in camp during the invasion. And I'll say here that all of her siblings in Moss Clan are dead this year, 2 of them being to rogues specifically. Her mom, Crowfreckle, also died in Moss Clan, and her other mom, Hazy Flick, is the only one alive, which is really sad, and she's really worried about them, and it seems that Rainbow Star tends to pick more aggressive deputies to balance them out, so there's that. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is for Fawnfoot this year. Good luck with your new role. Stop getting hurt and sick, please. But we do have a new face in the Medicine Cat Den. Meet Scaleheart, a 48-moon-old childish good teacher who was found on the first moon of the year by Ficklemoth, Jackdaw Slash, and Luckshine as a former rogue traveling healer. I gave her a bleeding heart accessory, and she was fitting in, finding herbs with Chestnut Wolf and chatting with Gorsthroat about what it was like to be a medicine cat, getting very concerned when he talked about his dream. She briefly got fleas, and while they did go away, she still groomed away. Then she had a nightmare of a 2-leg trap and was trying to interpret an omen. And then Robinpaw told her his dream of his omen, and she felt a presence on patrol with Pumpkin Glow that she hoped could explain things, but it disappeared just as quickly as it appeared. And I did have her able to generate as a potential traitor since she was a former rogue. I had a couple of cats ready to be generated as potential traitors during that animatic section. If they didn't roll, then that means they're probably good. So as of now, she's not involved. She's just a cat that wants to be silly, but is apparently haunted by the horrors. In happier news, she started a beetle collection, which is cute. Good for her. And Chestnut Wolf finally has help. She used to have 2 cats with oleander spots too, but at least she still has Scaleheart. Which is good because Chestnut Wolf is actually not in the Medicine Cat Den right now. She's in the nursery, expecting kids next moon. So we'll see her later, and let's go to the mediators. Ice Dash is now 80 moons old, and she mediated a couple after they broke up from an argument. Seemingly that couple did make up because they did get back together. Then she was thinking about her life choices. She also got an omen of things to come from Snake Eye. And she was feeling restless. She mediated Rainbow Star and Caribou Speck since apparently they didn't mesh well, and then she traveled to Moss Clan for some personal disputes. She was joking around a bit too much and had a nice chat with Loner. And there's a Moss Clan cat named Poe who was seeing a GalaxyClan cat, and she is in Ice Dash's age range. So I think Ice Dash had a Moss Clan mate. Sadly, Poe died from rogues this year, but as you can tell by now, Moss Clan also had rogues destroy them. There is another cat in the age range of Poe that could have been the mate that fits status-wise better, but I prefer if it was Ice Dash because that cat is the same age as Poe's kid. Beyond that, Ice Dash was also mediating between Rowan and Pike because she realized they also like each other. Next is the 45-moon-old Minnow Spirit. He mediated between Peatmane and Red Noise and then traveled to Moss Clan to resolve some recent hunting disputes, but no progress was made. Moss Clan is kind of a bit upset with just how intertwined the clan is with half-clan relationships, so there's drama there. Then Minnow Spirit became mates with Drizzlelight, and he was also worried about Caribou Paw, thinking he was overworking himself. He shared tongues with Silk Spider, was touching noses with Viper Clan cat, and then made J-Clan more upset when trying to settle herb gathering disputes. He also failed a mediation between Chestnut Wolf and her sister Milkhair, who seemed to be butting heads, making them a little more upset at each other, and has been stuck fixing arguments between kits. He's not doing the best at his job this year, and his mate just died right in front of him. And then he found out a clanmate was a traitor. So he's pretty upset right now, and he could use some relaxed time. But 2 mediators did just lose a mate if we count Poe too. And the last one has his own drama. Cliff Creek is now 24 moons old, and he mediated between Spinel and Daffodil Heart. He also thought Jackdaw Slash was doing a great job as deputy, seemingly unaware that she does not like him, or knows that she does and just doesn't hold it against her. He was worried Wishkeeper was overworking, and then traveled to ViperClan actually resolving something, that being hunting disputes. Then he successfully mediated between Roostertail and Fawnfoot, as well as Chestnut Wolf and Milkhair. Then he was pranking Downy Kit, which I assume was in a cute, playful way, because it seems that both him and his dad were pranking this year. And then he tried to mediate Oleander Spots and Basil, but they just hated each other so much that it was hard to make a dent in it. He was devastated when he spotted his sister in the rogue ambush, and feels she's out of reach to help. Especially now that she hurt the clan so badly, but he desperately wants to help her. He also gets along great with Rainbow Star, so that's cute, and looking at the relationship notebook, I saw that Cyndaquil was telling him a story, and then got some good advice from his son, and then Cliff Creek saw him doing something generous. So I'm happy they're getting along and hanging out more. But on to our warriors. Starting with Roostertail, who is now 111 moons old, and he really isn't as young as he used to be, his aching joints making that extremely clear. He told the story of Whisker Grove, dirt-grubbing, sticky-pawed little balls of dung that steal from all the clans, and if he sees them, he'll rip their pelts off. And that's a reference call-out to an app that basically stole Clan Gen. Don't support it, it's bad. He pranced around with his head held high, ready for anything, and let Finchsting take control of a training session. Then he went down hard on a misjudged pounce, spraining his paw, Rowancaw telling him to lean on her and take it easy. But he felt underappreciated and wants to set a good example for younger cats. He really seems to be getting a lot of retirement signs that he's kind of ignoring, and we'll see how he does next year. He does also really like Swansong romantically, but I hope if that happens, it doesn't happen right now, since Swansong is kind of going through it. Swansong is now 102 moons old, and he got buried while out alone, and while he pulled himself free, he was battered and injured, and it was all he could do to find a small cave to shelter in for the night, on a cold mountain until the next morning where he was found and brought to a medicine cat with a broken jaw, which he eventually recovered from. He was probably coming back from seeing his Moss Clan mates when that happened, because he then had another litter shortly after in Moss Clan, Crooked Kit and Wild Kit, and I kept Crooked's name because the full name was going to be Crooked Willow, but she died at 7 moons old to yellow cough, which is before the apprentice age in Moss Clan, so she definitely never met her dad, sadly. I gave her the full name in Star Clan mostly because Crooked is a mean prefix on its own. But then the next moon, her brother Wildpaw also died, this time to an eagle, so that was horrible, but taking a break, Swansong also was ambushed by rogues, startling them with his ferocity, much like his daughter did, with them alarmed at his lack of fear and self-preservation. Then while out with Spinel, he was ambushed again by specifically Laurel, Dart, and S'mores, and he immediately jumped to protect Spinel. The rogues terrified and ran after Swansong killed S'mores, which was something he did not expect or want to do. He just swiped too hard and he's been dealing with the murder trauma coming back. Also with the fact that he killed his friend Rainbow Star's mate's sister, who he did report was with the rogues and is kind of annoyed that Cyndaquil is still not in trouble for anything despite all these signs. And fun fact, another cat was spawned named S'mores in-game that died there, but I made that the same S'mores that we already knew since the same name. The second S'mores was a male cat though, so I decided S'mores was bigender with she-he. But with Swansong going this hard on rogues and Spinel being a traitor, I'm wondering if the fact that his 2 remaining kids in Moss Clan, Frigid Dream and Greenclaw, were killed by rogues in a targeted attack. As mentioned, one of his mates, Crowfreckle, also died of tainted prey, so Swansong lost 4 kids and a mate this year. And Moss Clan isn't happy with cross-clan stuff and being more secretive, so he's really worried about Hazyflick, especially with all the rogues. He is not doing okay, hoping things get better. He does have some positives with his daughter being deputy, and his son about to be a dad at least. He also helped get the kits back from Basil, but didn't do that much fighting because he still had that trauma. Trademark. On to Wishkeeper, he's 80 moons old, and he was trying really hard to prove that he could be a good deputy this year. He found a badger den in the beginning, which is sad knowing what happened to Gorsethroat later, and he was trying to emulate Rainbow Star's body language with Cliff Creek wondering if he was overworking himself. Side note, he also used to emulate Stone Star's body language, so I think he kind of mimics whoever is leader. He told Rainbow Star about his StarClan dream, and he was envying the deputy position twice this year, trying to prove that he could lead by ordering others around, and he took his sons out hunting but chose a stupid spot where they shot him grumpy glares on the way back after they gave up. Wishkeeper was also arguing with Alaska, who keeps popping up. He chuckled guiding home a lost Moss Clan apprentice and was worried about bugging Oleander Spots with something minor. And then his son died and it hurt. Wishkeeper was not letting rogues steal kits though. He feels attached to this current litter of kits considering he knows how it feels to be overwhelmed with so many of them. On to Granite Newt, who is 77 moons old now, and I never read his backstory in-game, but apparently something terrible happened to his two legs before he joined us. So there's some trauma to pack onto the silly. He got a stomachache, and while recovering, he was admittedly missing the toys that his two legs used to give him. He seems to struggle a bit being in that adapting to clan life period since he got lost exploring alone and then got buried, but was luckily unharmed after spending the day digging himself free. He did see a Mossclan apprentice on our territory with prey, sending them off with stern warning and bringing the prey back to camp where he reported it to Jackdaw Slash. And then he spent the night stressing over possible disasters, which we definitely did get disasters. And that's basically it. Moving on to Ren Noise, her wound healed well and she's not scarred. She had a nice chat with J-Clan sharing how Prey was running new apprentices, and she parted on good terms. She got Robin Paw, and again, I swear they always run into two legs with her apprentices. She also felt that a new rule should be added to the warrior code. I wonder what that was. And she made sure Robin Paw would be willing to challenge an intruder even if he did. She briefly got a stomachache, but as soon as she healed, she slipped and sprained her paw. Then she got Morpho butterfly wings from Chestnut Wolf, and they are so pretty. She sadly is ending the year of her running nose, and with the fact that her former apprentice just died. Also, I accidentally made her righteous last year, but she's still strict. The one that turned righteous was actually Rowancaw. Also, Red Noise has a small mutual crush on a new cat, who is next in line. Meet the 62-moon-old Moral Nudge. He's the ex-rogue that Oleander Spots invited. He's daring, a skilled mediator, and a great speaker. And he used to live alone in his own territory, but got chased out by something before finding the clan, which I assume was the rogue group considering he didn't roll to be a traitor. He did originally make me suspicious when he was doing stuff like pretending to be busy, but he found a badger den on patrol and ran back to report it immediately, and was also trying to set a good example for other cats on the same moon that Red Noise was. He seems good so far, and I hope Red Noise can just be happy for once. There's still a possibility he might be a traitor. He didn't roll to be one of the cats, but he was also one of the many cats that didn't generate at all during the fight, so he was outside camp somewhere. But based on vibes and backstory, I think he's good. A lot of cats were outside camp during the invasion, and most of them were the older cats in clan. But next up is Rowancaw, who is now 62 moons old, and as mentioned, is righteous. She had a nice chat with Bubbling Mark in the beginning of the year, but as of the end, she hasn't been able to get in contact since Mossclan has gone secretive and guarded. She found a young cat abandoned by Two Legs who had Yellow Cough, inviting her to the clan, and Rowancaw helped chase a rogue away. I haven't been mentioning it, but these cats keep having patrols where they roll in something to hunt and the prey is hiding because they smell bad. And I don't know who to mention this on, but a ton of cats were doing this, and it made me laugh. She helped Roostertail when he got a sprain, and when Pete Mane died, she left his vigil early due to grief, which pains me, my backflip boy. She went missing for a few days the moon before the rogue attacking game, which was a little suspicious, but not gonna lie. But I think she might have just been grieving Pete Mane. Also, she likes Pike now too, and Pike likes her, so Sushi and her still like each other way more, but we do have a big possibility of the poly actually happening. Ideally, I would want them to wait a bit for reasons, but she's currently worried about the lack of communication for Mom, as well as the former apprentice, because he's hurt right now and also not having the best time in general. Next is the now 57-moon-old Luckshine, who is injured from the rogue attack right now, but Girly was still able to fight off a rogue while injured and got a kit back. She was the cat that actually invited Basil, who was the traitor later. Then she was helping Horizon Petal train Ibis Paw a bit. She was also worried Daffodil Heart was overworking, and she guided the J-Clan medicine cat to camp after they said they needed herbs for a badly injured clanmate, which might have been Timmy or Mantis Breeze trying to help skip Fluff timeline-wise. And Luckshine really has a big heart. She just tries to help everyone, and she feels so betrayed that the cat she helped ended up hurting her clan. Also, her former apprentice Drizzlelight died, and Luckshine had gotten a crush back on Horizon Petal before she died, so there's just a lot of pain over here. On a better note, Luckshine has a new crush on Fawnfoot, so maybe that will go somewhere. Moving on to the now 53-moon-old Pike, and he's also down with a nasty wound from the rogue attack. He's lucky Chestnut Wolf was right there because his neck got swiped hard. But going in order, he was on patrol with Sushi when they ran into a J-Clan patrol. He tried to be friendly, but the situation was pretty standoffish. Later, he brought up wanting to potentially bring their family to J-Clan again, which Sushi was very against, even if Missile Star was no longer in power. She likes it here, and this resulted in her breaking up with him after a huge fight. Ice Stash gave them some therapy, and Pike tried to get back together with her, but she was still mad, Pike nursing the wound from rejection for a bit. He also remembered breaking the code and getting away with it, which I wonder is when he was still with Sushi while in J-Clan. And he did also eat prey on patrol this moon. They did get back together after a couple moons, and he was finding ways to rebel against instructions given, and then guided a lost J-Clan apprentice home with Spinel. I tried to send the entire family out a couple times, but they never really succeeded when all out together. One time he took his sons out training, but didn't step up to teach, possibly because he was distracted since, despite the fight earlier in the year, Sushi was expecting another litter. And she had a litter of 6 kids, which I swear the game is taunting me now. He purred so hard his body vibrated at the side of the litter. He was chasing a small dog out when he heard a voice saying to stop, but he had better things to do than talk to weird dog defenders, so he just left the situation to go back to his kids. Finchting's death hit him hard, and he became angry and withdrawn, and it felt like the entire clan was just moving on, which he refused to do. And Sushi was actually out of camp stretching her legs when the rogues invaded, so when Pike went down and saw his kits being taken, he was both hoping Sushi was safe and feeling horrible that he couldn't protect the kits better. Luckily, our clanmates got them back together, but yeah, things are pretty messy here. Hart also just died of Yellowcough in J-Clan, who is Pike's dad, and was probably the reason he wanted to go back originally, so that's painful. Moving on to the also injured Sneeze Tuft, who was hurt by Stoneshell as he was defending the nursery. He was there because his mate Chestnut Wolf was in there. These two became mates on the very first moon of the year, and I love them. He helps her gather herbs, and they're super cute. Sneeze Tuft did briefly get heat stroke, and after he recovered, he had the status that he couldn't believe Brave Hal thought moving the border a mouse slave wouldn't matter. And seems like he was being visited by his mate's dead sister, or Brave Hal told Chestnut Wolf or Drizzlelight that information and they relayed it to Sneeze Tuft. I think Brave Hal has been trying to contact her kin, and as mentioned earlier, Drizzlelight also had a StarClan dream. And I think she was trying to convince cats that the clans all needed to give the rogues some territory since that was what they were after. She seems to have foreseen they would be a problem. Back to Sneeze Tuft, he was influenced by Drizzlelight to eat prey on patrol, but they did bring back a ton to camp. He called a battle plan against a small dog when out with his dad, and Sneeze Tuft is about to be a father with Chestnut Wolf being in the nursery. Sadly, Drizzlelight did die, and as mentioned, so did most of his Moss Clan family. I think of the siblings, I would have preferred Sneeze Tuft as deputy, but he hasn't had an apprentice. He's proud of his sister, though, and I hope he and Chestnut Wolf have a good next year. Next up is Leopard Spots, who is now 38 moons old, and she recovered from her running nose just to immediately get it again. Then she carefully caught a fish, probably since she fell into the water and probably since in the past she had water in her lungs. She startled Drizzlelight to get back at Storm for something or another, which is peak sibling behavior. She helped her sister a couple times, but things seemed to go bad when on one of them, Chestnut Wolf suddenly looked taken aback and shook off when Leopard Spots asked what was wrong. And then on another, Leopard Spots accidentally stepped on a thorn, having to go back and get her paw checked in the medicine cat den. Leopard Spots seems to be that sibling that is always sick or hurt, but at least that means she hangs out with her sister a lot. Also, she has a small crush on Fickle Moth right now. On to her sister Melkhair. As mentioned, she used her apparent seniority to offer advice on Drizzlelight's potential StarClan vision, which I think was Brave Hal since she was busy this year trying and failing to prevent the rogue attack. She also later said she had a vision to Wishkeeper and Luckshine, who couldn't make sense of it, and I don't know if she actually did or if she was just pretending Drizzlelight's vision was her own. Melkhair distracted a dog with Pike, while Luckshine went to save and later invite the future traitor Basil. She and Pumpkin Glow went out a couple times, one time sending J-Clan over the border, but the trespasser was either good at hiding or they sucked at tracking. With Melkhair reporting it anyway, it probably was Magpie Freckle, honestly. Another time, she and Pumpkin Glow followed ViperClan scent to a cat in a tree who yowled, warning about a dog. Then Melkhair went missing a few days and then slinked out of camp to meet with a Moss Clan cat. And Melkhair is the cat that I said would line up great with Poe, but I don't really like it since Melkhair was the same age as Poe's kids would be. So Melkhair was probably seeing a different Moss Clan cat, and with all the death in Moss Clan, I would not be surprised that they're dead now. But I welcome theories on who. She was also asking Pike an important question after this. And then she whacked Pebbles at a badger with a young warrior, and can these cats please stop doing that to check if they're in their den? Be safer. And she thankfully helped get stolen kits back during the rogue attack. Next up is the 28-moon-old Fickle Moth, and he has a wound from the rogue invasion. He was also who saw Spinel was a traitor attacking the cat, leaving him injured as he retreated. He got an apprentice this year despite his young age, reassuring that she was more than her failures. He also explained the difference of being careful versus being rude at a gathering, saying some stuff is always safe to talk about, like favorite prey, health of elders, and birth of new kids. Later, he smiled, inviting his apprentice to sit and work on being less nervous around other older GalaxyClan cats. Fickle Moth has seemingly put that eloquent speaker trait to use. When Gorsfort died, he was hiding his tears and trying to be strong as he comforted others about it, most likely his siblings. He seems like a massive sweetheart. I love him. Speaking of siblings, here's Bumblebuzz. He has big goals because he started the year wanting to be chosen as a future deputy, which reminds me of his dad, Wishkeeper. He wanted to compliment Spinel's fighting techniques, and honestly, Bumblebuzz is pretty strong. He chased out a rogue, fought off a small dog with Cyndaquil, and intimidated another rogue away. Unfortunately, he's a bit too intense, and when he found a trespassing lost J-Clan apprentice, he couldn't contain his annoyance and reprimanded them harshly, leaving the kid nearly in tears before grumpily leading them back to the territory. So, bad Bumblebuzz. I know you take the code really seriously, but please be nice on kids. He saw a hairless cat with red noise, and I wonder what he thought of that with the fact that he has little bald paws. During Leaf Bear, he caught a mouse despite the snow, which was only one, but it was more than enough to count for success during the winter. When Gorsefruit died, he picked the best burial spot for him. Now on to 27-moon-old Pumpkin Glow. She discussed favorite prey with Rainbow Star, and apparently has terrible taste. Then she was seen touching noses with the rogue Crocus Whisker, who was snarling at any cat that came near her that moon. Except Pumpkin Glow, apparently. Then Pumpkin Glow had the status that she knew exactly how to get herself out of a mess that she orchestrated twice this year, and I think she was trying to convince herself that she had everything handled. I'm pretty sure she was involved with the rogues briefly before realizing they were bad news and backing out. She managed to fight Turbo off during the invasion, but Dart did get a very deep hit on her, who left her to bleed, assuming she would die from the wound. The rogues also tried to convince her mom, so this situation was very messy. Getting worse with Jackdaw Slash getting killed in the attack. But before that, Pumpkin Glow was injured by a dog when she followed the Viper Clan scent. And then she got buried on patrol, so she's really not having a good time. She was with Scaleheart when a presence briefly showed up. She also sat all night at her sister Horizon Petal's vigil and tripped on her own paws training with Red Noise. So Pumpkin Glow is very messy this year, and I feel so bad she lost her mom. But again, can you cats please just talk to Rainbow Star? On to a new face, meet the 24-moon-old Nervous Wilbur, who's a good fighter and a good swimmer. She was abandoned by Two Legs with Yellow Cough and was invited to the clan by Rowancaw and Caribou Paw at the time, joining at only 12 moons old. After getting better, she seemed to do well, sparring and having a great hunting patrol of Basil of all cats. Then she was seen touching noses with the loner Alaska, who on that same moon was wondering what clan life would be like. I would have invited him and Pebblejoy on that note, but we were pretty full. Wilbur also had clammy paws and a nightmare about a two-leg trap. There's been a couple nightmares about two-leg traps. Two legs stay away from us. And then she acted bravely on a patrol despite her anxieties. She had a bad hunt with Gorsefruit where they consoled each other, and she was the cat who he was watching a bit too admiringly, while she showed off some moves. Wilbur has a few small crushes that don't seem too big as of now. One being on the now dead Gorsefruit, but she also likes Pumpkin Glow and Bumblebuzz. And both of those crushes are mutual, so we'll see if any of them go anywhere in the future. Moving on to the newly named 19-moon-old Ibis Fleck, who is a childish lorekeeper who is clever. He recovered from frostbite without a scar and then was wondering if Gorsefruit was a good apprentice, as Ibis Paw was very behind on training compared to his brothers. He started an argument with Horizon Petal over a technique, apologizing when she explained her reasoning, and then he took a tumble down a cliff after a loose paw hold during a training session where he hurt his leg getting some scrapes. He eventually got his full name at 14 moons old and was celebrated for his energy making immature jokes all day, leaving cats rolling their eyes, though on that note, he became a warrior the same moon that his parents announced that he was going to be a big brother, so the jokes might have been about that. He seemed to really like his brothers, and when Finchstink died, it hurt, and Ibis Fleck still needs him even though he's gone. Also, his name kind of matches with Caribou, so that's cute. Because Caribou is now Caribou Speck, being named at 11 moons old and honored for his hard work. Caribou Speck is oblivious and a good hunter. When he first ran into Wilbur, he asked if she was a spy for Two Legs, and when she said no, he nodded seriously, saying she could join. Which I found kind of silly and on brand for an apprentice taking things way too seriously. But then later we did get traitors, but involved with rogues, not Two Legs, so you know. He wasn't paying attention to a lesson one moon, and Minnow Spirit was worried he was overworking, and this was during Pike and Sushi's brief breakup. He's been having a rougher year, and the moon before Sushi's second litter was born, he was asking an important question to his mom, which I think was related to him being a little self-conscious over maybe being replaced. But his family loves him, and he's just as much of a son and brother as any other blood relative. He was in the medicine cat den the moon that Finchstink died of green cough, and was probably with his brother when the end came. He was pushing himself finding herbs, snapping at oleander spots, that he was fine, totally fine, only a mouse brain would think otherwise when oleander spots tried to bring up that he needed to rest. As mentioned, he really hung out with his brothers a lot, and I hope he gets along with the second litter. I really don't think his parents' brief breakup, 6 siblings, and Finchstink's death is affecting him that good. He's just a kid dealing with things. On the moon that rogues invaded, before I rolled the generator, Caribou Speck was attacked by Crocus Whisker in-game, so that's why he ran in trying to warn of the attack first. He also felt betrayed seeing Basil was working with the rogues because she always seemed like such a nice cat, at least on the outside. He didn't know that she thought he was annoying. But yeah, please have a better time next year, buddy. Next up is the newly named 16-moon-old Daisy Billow, who ended up shameless with helpful insight. She started as a lonesome apprentice touching noses with a silk spider, and then notably she wondered if this was the right path for her. On her first patrol is when the medicine cat Oleander Spots and his kits were invited to clan, and later she wondered if others were judging her. Despite Silk Spider's heatstroke, he still slipped out of camp and came back with flowers for her, which I found adorable. In-game it's poppies, but come on, she needed a daisy. She felt down and had a great hunting session, and while seeking a place to be by herself, she caught a mouse. She did seem more confident towards the end of her training, being honored for her justice, and after her ceremony, she was bragging about her latest exploits. She also fought a rogue off during the invasion. Sadly, her former mentor did die during the fight, which is sad. He seemed to really encourage her in cute ways, but with that said, I'm wondering if Daisy Billow wants to be a medicine cat. Like, she's good with warrior skills, but she seemed really down during her training, and had a lot of signs that she was doing soul searching. Depending on her statuses next year, I might switch her over. But next is 13-moon-old Sparrow Dance, who was renamed via community post. She's shameless and a good fighter, and she was Oleander Spot's daughter. She was a noisy kit who asked other cats how kittens are made, and as mentioned, I'm pretty sure there was some potential sadness with whoever her mom was. Despite being a confident apprentice, she got Ficklemoth as a mentor, and she admitted that she felt like a failure, feeling better as he comforted her. She took in advice about how to properly talk at gatherings and was crushing leaves. While being unsure how to act around Ficklemoth, he got her to feel more comfortable, and I like that despite being a nervous cat, it seems that Ficklemoth has a lot of influence from his silly mentor Milkhair, especially since Sparrow Dance ended up shameless. Side note, Sparrow Dance was who was smacking pebbles at a badger with Milkhair. She snuck out with her brother Robin Paw as an apprentice, taking on a fox, and Sparrow Dance was made a warrior at only 10 moons old, honoring her determination and strutting around confidently. While she did save a kit during the ambush, both her dad and brother were killed during the attack, so I hope she has a good year next time despite the loss. But on to the nursery. Sushi is now 49 moons old, and I was not expecting 6 kittens again so soon after the first ever time. But going in order of events, Sushi was mad that Pike wanted to rejoin J-Clan with their family, firmly stating that GalaxyClan was her home now and breaking up with him for a bit. During the breakup, Rainbow Star gave her sparrow feathers that she put in her tail, and I don't know how to read that. Was that Rainbow Star's way of saying it would be okay if she did leave, or trying to encourage her to make up with Pike again? What was that? Bird feathers of all things is a bit complicated when the fight was over not wanting to go to J-Clan. She also found a badger, and rejected Pike's first attempt at getting back together, but she did eventually take him back, just in time to celebrate Finchsting and Caribou Speck getting their names. She was scolded into taking a nest in the medicine cat den despite her protests when she announced kits. And she was overwhelmed with the thought of a big litter, wanting a small one, which is why I feel so bad that she ended up with 6. She was feeling gloomy the moon they were born, and she does love them. It's just a lot to deal with, especially with the recent fight. Wishkeeper can relate to being overwhelmed. She insisted Finchsting wasn't gone at his death, and then talked with Scaleheart about what it's like to be a medicine cat. As soon as she got to the point where she recovered from her litter, she was seen racing a rival in Moss Clan, and I think her and Pike swap who watches the kits in the nursery, Pike taking a turn being a den dad, which is what he was doing during the rogue invasion where Sushi was out of camp. Luckily the kits were saved and brought back, but her mate did get badly injured and she feels really guilty for not being here. Now onto the babies. They are 3 moons old and they had 5 girls and 1 boy. There's the Almost Twins, the Quiet Alpaca Kit, and the Skittish Crane Kit. Alpaca Kit was actually asking Oleander Spots what every herb did, which might be a hint that she wants to be a medicine cat, but she also wasn't retaining a word of what he was saying, which was kind of funny. Then there's the bullying Downy Kit, who wanted to guard the nursery, much like her brother Green Kit, who's an attention seeker, who is trying to force his way into being allowed to guard camp. Then there's the sweet Hickory Kit, and finally Know-It-All Toad Kit, who I feel like may be named after Frogdapple, since she's often brought up to concerned queens in a way like Frogdapple watches over all parents and kits. So it would be cute if, while overwhelmed at the amount, Sushi decided to name one after the guide. But yeah, these kits had the potential to actually be stolen in the rogue invasion, but luckily we rolled enough saves to get them all back. I hope Sushi and Pike stay good together now after their argument and things are better. I know couples fight, and it would be interesting to see them move past this healthily and not end up being a toxic couple, which I don't think they are, but I do wish they waited on having more kits. On to the last cat inside clan. Chestnut Wolf is now 38 moons old, and she's expecting a litter next moon. As mentioned, she immediately became mates to Sneeze Tuft this year, and they are adorable. She also got a lot of help with Scaleheart and Oleander Spots joining as medicine cats, which might have been what convinced her to be comfortable enough stepping away to have a litter. Scaleheart might remind Chestnut Wolf of Cragscale because of the fact that she literally has scale in her name and also has the claws, which I don't think they're related. I just rolled claws again, but who knows? They both were rogues, her and Shine. As mentioned, she spoke with Pete Mane about the nature of StarClan and was hanging out with her siblings, being really happy when Drizzlelight helped her gather herbs. While she doesn't regret becoming a medicine cat, she does feel secluded at times seeing Drizzlelight train in patrol of everyone, which is probably Sneeze Tuft and her siblings in particular. She was hearing the voices of StarClan cats the same moon that Tawny, son of all cats, was thinking of a message to send. Fun to see one of our older cats, especially an old medicine cat. And she ran to Brave Hal on patrol, who she initially greeted with a smile, but her sister met her eyes of fire in her gaze, saying StarClan was unhappy with her and things must change. Leopard Spots noting that Chestnut Wolf seemed off after that, but she brushed it off. She was feeling restless when Scaleheart interpreted an omen, and was also concerned with Oleander Spots bringing up mortality. She gave Red Noise the Morpho Butterfly wings, and then announced kits. I think what StarClan was trying to tell her is that she needed to focus on the important things and leave family life for a bit later, because if she paid more attention to the warning signs, we might have been able to prevent the whole rogue attack thing. But baby-wise, Chestnut Wolf is hoping for a big litter, which fits with her being from a litter of 5. I do hope she stays happy, and I look forward to the babies and hope things in general go better, and that she can balance work and life in a responsible way. But onto the cats outside of the clan. Starting with Spinel, who is now 57 moons old and came out as a trans man this year. Good for him. Less good is that he was a traitor and helped the rogues invade the clan. After Spindlefox died, I think he broke a bit. Notably, Brave Hal wanted to send a message to him, and I think she was trying to stop Spinel from making contact with the rogues or convince him that he shouldn't betray the clan. And then seemingly out of nowhere, Spinel started doing really well at clan life compared to last year, especially on the hunting end, using an eagle as a scout for catches and catching extra prey for Leaf Bear, which I think he gave some to the rogues. He was caught eating prey on patrol at one point, and he was wistfully thinking of his old soft kitty pet nest, adding to my theory that he originally had some good housefolk before being rehomed to the bad one. So, as mentioned, Swansong and Spinel were ambushed by rogues, where Swansong killed S'mores in defense, shocking him since he didn't mean to. But Spinel was also working with the rogues, so blood warning for a picture in 3, 2, 1. Spinel was actually in on that ambush, and the plan was to kill Swansong since he was a strong senior warrior. But the killing of S'mores made the plan fall apart, and the picture is gone now. Swansong never found out Spinel was trying to kill him there, and then Ficklemoth swiped at him after it was revealed during the attack. And now I bring up how last year I said the rogues were girls only. I ran into 2 boy rogues this year, and in the end the girls combined with the boy rogues in order to build their numbers, realizing they needed to for their goal. Also potentially influenced by Spinel coming out as a trans man. But onto another rogue who infiltrated the clan. Meet the 43 moon old compassionate Basil, who has a keen eye and is a great climber. You heard a lot about her already. She was found being chased by a dog and was invited to the clan by Luckshine. She fit in well in the clan, being a sweet cat and helping around in ways that made the clan like her. Well, except Oleander Spots, who hated her and sensed the darkness. She helped solve a conflict while mediating both sides and kept patrols on task through a gentle voice and compassion. How sweet. But if you look at some of her actions, you start to realize a hidden agenda. She found Caribou Speck annoying, though she kept it to herself, and she caught a rabbit that was acting strange, which was eaten as normal, and while it didn't poison anyone, I think that was an attempt to poison cats. She was worried about the lack of prey Leaf Bear would bring, as well as wondering how the cats she helped in the past were doing. And I think she was helping the rogues, and those thoughts were actually about them, not GalaxyClan. And she rolled to have stolen so many kits to the point I think she purposely got close to them to gain trust before the invasion. Basil, in the end, seemed like a true wolf in sheep's clothing, and this reveal does admittedly lose some impact on you guys as an audience, due to her joining and betraying us in the same year, so you didn't have quite the same build-up as I did while I was playing. But moving on to the 24-moon-old Stoneshell, who I'm not redrawing, she's interesting, satisfied she was lurking in GalaxyClan's territory and fighting others for food, as well as hoping to find something to fill her belly. So the rogues really do seem to be having trouble hunting. I did code her outside of J-Clan, and she was wanting to show J-Clan cats the life of a rogue. Now, Adderstripe was lurking in a living cat's dreams as well as training a lot. Cedar Blaze was also training. So Adderstripe has actually basically become the rogue group's guide as they attempt to make their own clan. She's coaching them secrets of the clans, and one of the rogues, Crocus Whisker, already had a clan name in-game, and might have been from one of the old clans. But the rogues seem to be targeting GalaxyClan and MossClan specifically this year, most likely because they have the safest camps in Fury, living in caves. So while Stoneshell's a nervous girl, she does see the rogue group as family and is fighting for them right now. But onto MossClan to look at Bubbling Mark. She is now 127 moons old and she officially retired. She did get into an argument on a patrol, but that got settled, and beyond that, she seems to be doing alright. She also seemed to hang out with Swansong's daughter Frigid Dream, finding berries with her, and later fetching her for a medicine cat. After retiring, she seems to have spiraled again though, wondering if MossClan thinks she's a waste of space now. But it seems she became close to Crowfreckle despite the earlier tensions because she was lashing out in grief at any cat that checked on her after Crowfreckle died. Now, as for Wastar, he's 76 moons old and still has 9 lives. He's mostly been leading well, hunting and running drills, focusing on his clan's own priorities. He was missing his parents one moon, and then his former apprentice got hurt in a landslide, but luckily she's okay. He did turn away when a clanmate vented once, and I noticed he's been hanging out with a StarClan connected cat named Sparklemore a lot, with him rolling his eyes when Sparklemore suggested sharing prey with other clans. But if we adjust that a bit, maybe he meant the rogues, and maybe he's been getting similar visions that Bravehal was sending about how the rogues are going to be an issue if they aren't given a place. Wildstar's crush Slipdawn got kidnapped by Two Legs, but he searched and immediately found her, getting her checked with the Mediators too, and then patrolling with her, rooting for them next year. J-Clan also has some MossClan blood kits in camp right now, so there's more cross-clan drama. Wildstar's deputy died, so there's a new one in J-Clan, and Wildstar currently has White Cough, and I hope he doesn't take after Hollowstar and won't lose a life to that White Cough. Also, he is horrible at naming cats. We have a Twigbark and a Larksnarf, Snarf being a name that I added to the game code because it's just a funny word. But oh boy, Wastar, he also apparently messed up some words when performing a naming ceremony. So there's that. As for his daughter, Icicle Fleck is 24 moons old now, and early in the year, she was talking about a possible vision, and I wonder if Adderstripe tried to reach out to her. She got pink flower bulbs that look an awful lot like tulips in-game from Magpie Freckle, who I think knows that Icicle Fleck is crushing on a cat named Tulip Speckle, who she had a couple cute patrols with this year. She's mostly been being a good warrior with a few moments like when she considered bending the rules. She wants to go on a journey, which I wonder if she wants to seek out Stoneshell, and it seems that she talked to a medicine cat about it. At the end of the year, she had a nice chat with a cat from another clan, which was probably her brother Cliff Creek or her bio dad Cyndaquil. Now onto the positions of power. Leader-wise, we still have Rainbow Star and GalaxyClan, and Thunderstar is struggling. MossClan was also destroyed by the rogues and seemed to have a spy Nook Holly as well. The fresh kill pile was also getting raided a bunch. A warrior got kidnapped by Two Legs, but despite their efforts, he could not find him, and they died shortly after. Thunderstar was promising to take care of the clan with his lives, and I don't think he's retiring despite the tragedies, which includes his own son dying of yellow cough, which he broke down over. While initially friendly with GalaxyClan, he was more standoffish as the year went on, and I think he's upset at how connected MossClan is with all the other clans, considering all the half-clan relationships going on. Rogues ambushed their camp on the very last moon of the year, and I'm saying that was after GalaxyClan was invaded, and now I reveal something that I didn't say on stream. The rogues stole their camp. MossClan is not living in their camp now. They got kicked out, and MossClan is hiding that out of shame. So we'll figure out how to deal with that. We already talked about Wastar and J-Clan, so in Viper Clan, Frecklestar has been going through it. Her dad, Sylvally, her son, Egret Drift, and her mate, Spruce Shadow, all died over the course of the year. She also keeps getting lost cats that she needs to go rescue. She briefly declared war on MossClan, most likely from Rogue's misunderstandings that she had, and she called it off later. She lost a life when a fox was at the fresh kill pile, and Frecklestar has been grieving a lot. Deputy-wise, Fawnfit is new in GalaxyClan, hope she does well. MossClan still has Micah Bird, who is doing generally well, with a few maybe hiccups, but not that big. Mostly pretending to be busy and questioning maybe some outdated traditions. He did briefly have heat stroke, which kept him down for a while, and he was focusing on training after. He wondered how his brother Tall Shadow was doing after he had an outburst at a vigil. In J-Clan, Air Dancer is now deputy since Hot Mallow died from hypothermia, and before getting the position, she was hunting a lot and doing great. She was worried about bugging the medicine cat with something minor, which might have been for her sister who wasn't doing that well, since the death of her mate. She upped 2 GalaxyClan kits home, which timeline-wise had to be Robin Kit and Sparrow Kit, which is very fitting for J-Clan. She ran to rogues, but another warrior, Calamari, told them other land was more prey-rich, and I'm wondering if they sent the rogues to the other clans on purpose or on accident. Once becoming deputy, she's doing her best, but she's still getting used to it, and hasn't had the position long, and Wastar's been down with White Cough. In Viper Clan, the new deputy is Pigeon after Spruce Shadow died of green cough. She seems okay, but did also tell a warrior to dig themselves out, saying the patrol had no time to help mouse brains. It seems she might have been a prophecy pick. Snipcloud wanted to talk to her, and medicine cats were talking about prophecies and stuff. She got a mate and then lost her last kit, but adopted soon after, and then had more kits with her mate, so she's got a lot of babies. She's new as deputy, so we'll see how it goes. Medicine cat-wise, we have Scaleheart now in GalaxyClan. Sadly, Oleander Spots didn't last the year. And we still have Chestnut Wolf. In Moss Clan, they lost 2 medicine cats. Goose Lotus died in a rogue ambush, and then the newly named Teasel Sprout died of yellow cough. Minnie and Tin Willow are still here, though. Minnie might have age getting to her. She had the urge to wander, debated swimming, and has been sunning a lot. Also forgetting where some herbs were. She got injured by a rat, and on the moon of the rogue invasion, after checking the relationship logs, I saw that the most likely traitor in Moss Clan let her down in a time of need that moon. Her rat bite is infected, and she's not doing well. Thunderstar also doesn't like her. Tin Willow's not the best either, having arguments with his brothers. He did comfort some cats, and he could use some more help. He got rejected by Larch Silk, and then tried to talk to Minnie on patrol, but she seemed to ignore him while sunning. He was thinking about taking on a new apprentice, and he rejected a cat that died on the same moon in the rogue attack, and it might have been a deathbed confession. In J-Clan, Skipfluff retired after an eventful year of getting more kittens from her kitty pet mate, cowering from storms, screaming of doom, and breaking her leg. Timmy is now head medicine cat, and they've been taking over patrols that they weren't assigned. They've been mostly doing good and talked with a traveling healer before going to an old spot outside the clan for herbs. They got Wild Pot and was stressed over balancing the needs of the clan with the future of plants. Mantis Breeze got his full name, but as an apprentice, he was guarding the dirt place, apparently. He remained strange and briefly considered switching to be a mediator. Interestingly, after talking to Sparklemore and saying his vision was one of doom and destruction, on that same moon, Mantis Breeze was seen sharing prey with a rogue, despite their own clan being low. So I think he knew the rogues would be an issue and tried to smooth things over behind the scenes. He thought Air Dancer was doing poorly as deputy, but she's just settling in. And a new face is Wildpaw, who is Skipfluff's daughter. As a kid, she was excited to be a warrior, but apparently interested in the myths and legends from elders and queens, which inspired her to be a medicine cat to talk to StarClan, possibly inspired by her mom. She made a vow to help any cat in need, and she's righteous. In Viper Clan, we still have all 4, including the newly named Goalheart. Pom Pom Perrin is who became mates with the deputy Pigeon, and she got a taste of her own bitter herbs, which might have been caused by her snappy attitude towards others. She had green cough, and as soon as she recovered, she was attacked by rats. She's probably retiring next year. She was also worried about Elwhisker's vision of an unseen fire's heat. Swiscutter is mostly doing good, checking on others and doing her job. She had intense vision in a puddle telling Frecklestar. This might have been pigeon related. And she snuck a kitty pet into the camp, destroying his collar and lying about his backstory. Swamp Hopper trained Goalheart well and might have been overworking a little bit, as cats seem to be worried about him. He got a vision of a truth unbelieved, a cat's last breath, and a loss of innocence, which might have been related to Goalheart finding a dead queen in her kits, which, after reading many theories that made a lot of sense on the Discord, I'm retconning this to be sadder. He was mates with the Moss Clan Frigid Dream, who was Swansong's daughter, and she died and was the queen that he found, taking in the kits that are his. So he is a very young single dad right now. Mediator-wise, GalaxyClan still has all 3 of Ice Dash, Minnow Spirit, and Cliff Creek. Ashleap is struggling with Moss Clan. With all the loss, I don't blame her. She's been trying to mediate between Micah Bird, Tall Shadow, and Tin Willow as the brothers are fighting, as she wonders why they can't just all get along. She grieved the deaths of cats, including Goose Lotus, who she kept a piece of fur from, and she did mediate Bubbling Mark. She's been trying to be hopeful despite the grief. J-Clan sadly lost Salmon to old age, but they gained 2 more mediators. Jacada Burst failed some Moss Clan disputes, making them more upset, but she was also seen touching noses with a Moss Clan cat. She felt bad for stepping on a bug and did some shipping. Magpie Freckle switched to becoming a mediator, seemingly having been a shipper before that, since she gave Icicle Fleck the flowers and teasing for her crush. She might have initially switched to have more opportunities to see Gorsethroat, and she's sad at his death. She also seemed to be trying to help with the J Moss half-clan relationships. And speaking of that, her apprentice Wildpaw is half Moss Clan and Tall Shadows. He's a rare male tortie. He always wanted to help and didn't want to hunt or fight, so he became a medicine cat. That said, he did fight rats, getting injured, and he solved some hunting disputes with GalaxyClan. He's a strict boy, and I wish him well. Viper Clan still has Gorseglare, who is still trying to wingman for Berry Chase, and trying to get Frecklestar to look critically at Splinter Jumble, who seems to be harming their apprentices with training. And Berry Chase seemed a bit down this year, wondering if being a warrior would have been more fun. I didn't redraw his face, ignore his giant smile. These two are honestly kind of not that happy this year. Gorse is sad at losing his mom. Spruce Shadow. And that's year 26 of GalaxyClan. Oh boy, that was a lot. Sorry for forgetting fan art last year, I was really busy. Moss Clan is homeless, so we'll figure out how we go about that. Rainbow Star doesn't seem to be doing the best, and Cyndaquil continues to be surrounded by suspicious people. I'm interested to see how Fawnfoot does as deputy, and we have 2 litters that you guys know about for next year. Chestnut Wolves and Rainbow Stars. Brave Hal seems very upset that none of her warnings were listened to, and I might just straight up make a side clan with all the rogues, but probably not stream it. Like I said, I'll probably make a post or a short showing what all the blind polls on Patreon were, and oh boy, there was so much drama. A ton of cats had the potential of being traitors in that generator, but if they didn't roll, I just didn't play into their suspicious moments. Pretty sure this video is over an hour long, and I'm tired, so thank you for watching. My Patreon is linked below if you'd like to support me there. I am amazed at how many people actually are supporting me there, thank you so much. As well as my Discord, Redbubble, etc. I'll update the family tree soon because it's still at year 24, and with that, I will see you next time. Peace!